All right, so welcome to Bonehead. Really quick before we get started, well, two things. One, welcome. James is back live from
Oh, Texarkana.
Texarkana, Texas, and back in 48 hours.
Yeah.
Or 28. I don't remember the actual time.
Listen, they are thirsty in Atlanta.
And there's beer in Texarkana.
There is.
And they'll get it back no matter what it takes.
I saw some earlier, and I said, yes, they need that in Texarkana.
Smoking the Bandit. In the South, according to Billy Bob Thornton, that's a documentary.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Sally Field's the only one left alive, right?
No, little Enos.
Oh yeah, little Enos. And Daddy can have some hush puppies. He's probably still.
He may be still alive. Yeah.
We'll look that up.
Really quick, two shout outs, and we probably should do, and I actually hate the phrase shout outs.
Oh, and I have a correction, but go ahead.
Well, first, Pam, get better. I know you've been in the hospital. I'm glad to see that you're out. Thank you so much for supporting the show. But in this case, get some rest, and whatever you don't listen or watch us, we do not want to make you sicker. And second, I want to say hi to Chris, who said hi to me today outside the Inner Geek as we were walking. He's a bonehead person. He enjoys the show. We met at Comic-Con, and he loved the Vincent Price episodes. James.
And that's a sign of excellent taste.
Yeah, he has excellent. Well, he had me up until he said I really liked Bonehead, and then I started questioning his taste.
Well, maybe he's supporting local. Let's hope he's supporting local.
And one last thing, May the 4th be with you. We're doing this on the 4th. It actually will be released on the 5th. This is really close. We don't usually do them this close. But
We've done a few.
Mighty few.
Yeah.
Less than 5.
Didn't we do that to Haley a lot?
Not this close. Not the next day. She would get bitchy. Remember?
Miss you, Haley.
What'd you say, James?
Normally it was a 3 or 4 day turnaround.
Usually, yeah, or we had them done several weeks ahead. We're getting off topic. What is your correction?
So my correction on the sports movie episode, I mentioned that Alex English played on the Boston Celtics. I got confused. He actually was a member of the Denver Nuggets.
What?
Yeah.
How can you get that wrong? I am furious.
I am furious.
I just could not get over myself.
I'm not going to get up.
No, he's not getting up.
All those people writing us letters.
We get letters.
No one.
We get letters. We get stacks and stacks and stacks of letters.
Joe, what's on the fax machine today?
Nothing. We don't have a fax machine.
What was on the fax machine yesterday?
Nothing.
We might get letters if it wasn't for that pesky FBI protection program that we're all in.
And speaking of FBI...
And you know what really makes it hard for my FBI people? Me getting on stage to do Comic-Cons and Scarefests and whatnot. Same for the other two of you. That'd be a really stupid gig, wouldn't it? In another life, I was real thin and liked sports.
We're going undercover, and so luckily we're being hidden as geeks. But yes, like Joe said, in reality, I was a billionaire playboy.
Anyway, what's our subject today?
To quote the great Ice-T.
Which one?
Sweet Lady Justice.
No, that's not Ice-T.
Neil Gaiman's Lady Justice.
We are talking cop movies, gentlemen.
Police procedurals?
Procedurals?
I don't know. I just wanted to do that face. If you're listening, it makes no sense. So go over to the YouTube
and
I
am listening, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, James can't see us. We haven't figured all that out on the OBS software yet, so sorry about that.
Are we really?
That's great for me.
Yeah, James is looking at himself right now in heaven.
It's true, James. He's in heaven.
It's taking all of his strength not to just whip out a mushroom slap across the monitor.
His own mushroom slap?
His own.
No.
You can tie it in a bow and toss it to and fro.
I am what my mother used to call plug ugly, as she would throw chicken.
I almost spit out my delicious bottled drink
By the way, sorry listeners, have you after hearing that slam onto wood?
of Diet Cola. Yes, my Star Wars mug. Like I said, may the 4th be with you. I have a Darth Vader mug, and I am wearing my Star Wars
Wasn't
hat.
that tea at one point?
It was tea before this. I needed a pick-me-up. I've been killing snakes and putting in dishwashers all day, sir.
Huh.
And if you know me, I'm terrified of snakes.
Uh,
And dishwashers.
They
And
ruined.
if you're a big fan of snakes, you can send your hate mail to.
Jared
Patrick.
Greer, who is a big fan of snakes.
I was going to say St. Patrick. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to start, Joe is way behind on the snake killing trip.
Absolutely. So anyway, right along, we're doing cop movies, police movies.
Yeah.
So this was Chad's idea?
Yeah, I think so. I'll take credit for it. Why not?
Or was it Christie's the other day when she was spouting out things?
I don't know. I'm gonna take
It
credit.
doesn't
for
matter. It was a good idea because when I started thinking about it, and this happens often,
Yeah.
you say something and then you start thinking about it. Well, what are your favorite ones? And Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good movies about police people.
Yes, when you talk about
Police
the police,
people.
it is
Coming
definitely
this fall on Fox.
And we're clarifying this very quickly, right? Because I asked this question. We are not doing private detectives.
No, that's a whole other show.
which I've added to the board.
And we will probably do it maybe before the summer's out. I don't know. It depends on what happens. But then I can get into film noir.
Yeah.
I left a lot of things off because we're not doing private detectives, because we are doing just police movies or movies around cops.
Right.
And we're just doing movies. We're actually going to do a whole other episode on television shows. There may very well be more TV than there is movies.
Right.
And
Oh, yeah.
there's a bunch of good ones, and there's a lot of bad ones.
Yep.
Right? So, what we do, if you listen and watch, is that we pick our few favorites, and we could do multiple episodes on police movies. Don't you
Right.
think, gentlemen?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was hard when I was putting this list together. I'm like, my list is a 3-piece process of one that's a lot of people will
Of
consider
the breast,
terrible.
the thigh, and then the leg or the wing, depending on his mood.
One a lot
Or
of
if
people.
you pay the 75 cents upcharge, 2 breasts.
I always like 2 breasts or 3 if I'm watching Total Recall.
But one that's a lot of people are gonna.
There's a Paul Verhoeven fan out there
Yeah.
right now that went, woo!
Yeah, but one that a lot of people are gonna not
Oh,
like, but I like personally. One that's that was a big hit. That's one of my personal favorites of all time. And then one that's honestly people don't really talk about that's out there that people may not have seen.
Okay.
But in that process, I had to really lose a lot of films that I love that involve police / cops.
And I guess we'll talk about some of the bigger ones at the end, because some of them, like one of them in particular, may very well be the best movie of the 80s. But it's not on my list.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take it away in case one of you, because if you're watching or listening to the show, we don't tell each other what we're about to talk about, although Chad was cheating when he came in earlier and read my list as I was typing it out before the show. Shake your head, James. Shake your head in disgust. By the way, when are you going to be getting back in Kentucky so I don't have to do this horse shit?
Well, I mean, if Kentucky paid me more money, no, I'll be back.
No, I mean for the summer. I've already given up on you moving back.
No, well,
Apparently the whole family has too, or is that too dark?
I mean, I don't know. I called earlier, and Dana's boyfriend seems to be okay with it. So, no.
Who's that asshole? I was there earlier.
The mailman,
Oh,
one of 3 garbage men.
That woman is insatiable.
Because garbage men, they don't do it solo. They're a team.
I'm making an assumption that your wife. I just realized you gotta have. You have to have a guy watching traffic.
You have to have the traffic washer. You have to have the driver, the traffic washer. Did I say the traffic washer?
watcher. You gotta have a guy watching traffic, Chad. You mean during the garbage? No.
Our home
Not what
county
I
is
mean.
wasting taxpayer dollars.
You gotta have a guy watching the traffic. So yeah, I'm making an
No,
assumption
2
your
weeks,
wife
2
doesn't
weeks.
listen.
About 2 more weeks. I will return to Lexington. I assume the mayor is already getting a party ready for that. I assume there'll be a parade in 2 weeks.
Okay, 2 weeks. That sounds good. So
May 19th, I should clear the moorings, dock at the station, do other space term things.
By the way, I moved my boat and forgot it was behind me and nailed it with my
Nice.
truck.
How's the truck?
By the way,
I didn't hurt either, but I put a scratch on the boat. I knocked it 3 feet.
I heard you say moat instead of boat, and I was like, when did you put in a moat? And
It's getting that way, man, with the rain.
In prep
with
for
the
you
rain.
coming over here.
Yeah, basically. So I do have a quick question. I know this. Mine does listen sometimes. Do either one of your wives listen or watch? I'm assuming no.
No.
No, I think my father-in-law.
Yeah, your father-in-law, I would imagine does, but your wife.
But no, I think literally, and this is true. I think our wives had this conversation at one point. My wife doesn't listen because she says this is what is having me around is always like. Like I just come up with random things that I say, and she goes, I don't need to necessarily listen to that on the radio. So if you're one of the people that have never obviously commented publicly, and the reason you love this show is because of me, let me warn you right now that if you think any of this is an act, my wife would say, no, this is always how geeky I really am.
And your wife isn't that nerdy.
No.
No. What is her favorite show?
Right now, Justified, believe it or not.
Well, I like Justified. I'll give her that. I just assume we're going with The Bachelor.
No, she doesn't watch that stuff.
Uh-huh.
By the way, they get this TV over here that I watch sometimes, you see, in this apartment that I'm in. Who is Paradise Hotel meant for?
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Is it for one-celled organisms?
I don't know what it is.
I'm assuming it's a reality show where people get sent to an island.
It's a reality show where you move into this really nice hotel, and if you don't hook up with somebody every week, you get kicked off the show.
Oh.
How do I sign up?
And I watched I don't think we meet the profile of who they cast.
I wouldn't have even made it to the opening credits.
No, we're not even the wacky people that live in the apartment complex.
I could be the guy next door, the creepy fat one. I want to come over and fix the pipes.
Well, that's a metaphor.
Yeah, it could be.
I just want to say that. And
All right.
by the way, if anybody out there wants to,
let's get on to the topic, gentlemen.
Yeah, we're making Chris wait.
Yeah.
I hope he enjoys that his names came up to
Yeah.
time. I really do. And I hope Pam feels better. I really do.
Yeah, no. We support anybody who supports us.
Yeah,
that's my feelings on it.
And we don't have a huge base of people who are insane enough to listen and watch to us, but we've gotten bigger. And I forget sometimes how many people we do have out there.
Joe, I've been trying, okay?
Right. And we have gotten bigger, and I forget how many people are out there. And sometimes, anyway, sorry. Let's make a really good show.
Yeah, let's make a good show.
Instead of this piece of shit that we've been doing.
10 minutes in, we haven't even got to the topic.
We did. We brought it up.
We said the topic. We have done.
Well, who wants to go first? Who has the best cop movie?
Oh, I'm not doing that first.
Influential.
What is the most influential, James? James goes first.
The most influential movie, cop movie. I rewatched it today, getting ready for this. He Walked by Night, 1948.
I'm glad you got an old one. That was my big problem making my list.
Have you ever seen He Walked by Night?
Nope.
I know of it, but I've never seen it.
So He Walked by Night has predated Dragnet.
Did he have a flashlight?
You'll step on a snake. Happened to me.
Speaking of people who watch this show, hopefully he's still watching. This is for Will Crispin. Watch out for snakes. Okay. No.
Is this a show or a movie?
It's a movie. I thought we were doing movies. I thought shows.
Yeah, no. We are. You just said this is a show. I'm sorry, I misunderstood that because I've heard the title. I'm familiar with it, but I've never seen it.
So it stars, and once again, Mystery Science Theater 1000 fans will appreciate this. It stars none other than Richard Basehart as the villain, as the killer. But it was before Dragnet, and the reason I brought that up again is because it is why we got Dragnet. So this movie was actually based on a real case. The real case was that of, let me make sure I get the name of the murderer correct. The real one.
Yeah, we want to screw that up.
Yeah, well, he only died recently. So 1948, and the murderer just died in 2008, relatively recently.
Yeah. People are too busy being thirsty over Ted Bundy.
He was dreaming. No, it's based on the 1946 crime spree of Irwin Machine Gun Walker. And so the real case is based on this guy was a police dispatcher and rigged up his own police radio that he could hear from home. And he would listen in and then go commit crimes. And he looted military weapons, which is why he was called Machine Gun. He stole 7 machine guns from an Army depot base. He was also a veteran of World War II. And then he used them. He gunned down cops, a cop and some other people and things like that. But what made him famous, at least during the time and largely forgotten today, is he used the sewer and drainage system to get around so people couldn't track him. And he would also change his appearance. So he was very, I mean, it's a fascinating case. So in the movie, 2 officers, Sergeant Marty Brannon and Sergeant Chuck Jones, are tasked with finding the killer, Roy Morgan. They obviously changed the name for the film. A brilliant electronic worker who worked as a police scanner and did all this stuff, but he started looting police equipment and different electronic equipment and selling them back and making profits that way. He eventually gets caught in the movie, and he kills a police officer that stops him, and it spirals on from there. Now, because of movie codes at the time, the movie ends with him being shot and killed. He gets tear gassed, and he's stumbling around. And what's funny is the way the movie ends predicted actually the way the ending of The Third Man would be shot.
Man.
And so, if even though there are no known connections between those 2 films, and He Walked by Night came first, tons of people go, "Wait a minute, that looks exactly like the way The Third Man ends," and it does. That being said, it was the first movie that actively used the underground tunnels and drains and spirits.
That makes sense to me. If you're familiar with The Third Man, and really quick for you're not, it's a classic film. Check it out. Starring Joseph Cotton and Orson Welles. Actually, it's probably got my favorite Orson Welles performance in it. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But why this movie is so important is for a couple different reasons. A, Warner Brothers all of a sudden realized, wait a second, we should totally use these drains more often. So much so that, in fact, a Warner Brothers executive says, those drains and the sewer system are great sets that we can use for nothing. We should film more movies there. And he pushed to use those in a film not related to police films, but called Them! Exclamation mark. And for anybody that's an old school science fiction fan, Them is the giant ants movie. It was the beginning of a giant insect trend. The other part about this film that's really interesting is that it was allegedly actually financed in part by the actual mob. Handsome Joe Roselli, you can look him up. He allegedly put up money for it. The other thing is that this is the poltergeist of. Did I miss something?
No, I'm so sorry.
Joe forgets sometimes that the mic's on and is recording.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, sorry.
We'll play it back later. No, it is the poltergeist of police films in that it was allegedly shot by Alfred Worker. That's who gets credit on paper. That's who is official. That being said, everybody knew that it was actually shot by Anthony Mann.
Oh, okay.
It was written by Crane Wilbur. He adapted the actual police story part of it, the actual police files for it. And Crane Wilbur, Joe, you've got a poster of something Crane Wilbur did in your room there.
What is it?
The Bat. He wrote The Bat.
It's over. It's a half sheet.
Yeah, and not a poster.
Yeah, it's a half sheet.
Yeah, not a poster.
Yeah, it is. It's a horrible movie.
The other reason this movie is so important.
It's a great baseball movie.
Because the intro.
The Lou Diamond Phillips one's better.
Just watch the first 3 minutes of the movie and listen to the intro. And you'll automatically go, oh, yeah, no, this is vital. Because the intro is straight up Dragnet. Why? Because on that film, they cast this guy who was doing radio work as a police forensic expert. His name was Jack Webb.
Oh!
Jack Webb.
And he brings it back around.
On set, he befriended the police consultant, whose name was Sergeant Marty Wynn. And this is the true story behind that. And Jack Webb at this time was already a radio star. He was doing a radio series called private investigator, and Marty Wynn and Jack Webb basically were sitting around talking, and Sergeant Marty Wynn of LA Police said, this movie's got the right idea. We have tons of files that are public record. Somebody should just go over there, pick up these files, and make an entire series of movies or shows or something, because all police files are public record. And your
James,
shows
is this story still going?
So that's why we got Dragnet. Philistine.
Did you say Philistine?
I sure did.
Okay,
I like it when he gets pissy. He calls me Phyllis Diller instead. Phyllis Diller. When he's trying to say Philistine, it's funny.
The other part about this movie that's relevant, though, if you do appreciate more modern films, is they still, until as recently as 1997, have reused scenes from this movie. Scenes in this movie were reused in movies like The Big Combo, which was another police film in 1955.
Everyone knows about The Big Combo.
You put the cheese in the pretzel.
You like the pepperoni and sausage one, right?
Oh, yeah.
In 1997,
I haven't had a combo in years.
Good.
In
Combo money.
In 1997, footage from it was reused in the film L.A. Confidential.
Oh, which is another great police movie that I'm not going to mention today.
That was my fourth pick.
The final thing I will say about it, like I said, in the film, Roy Morgan, the character, is killed. In real life, the actual murderer, his name was Walker, like I said.
Texas Ranger.
He lived until 2008.
Oh.
And was paroled after shooting cops in 1974. He immediately changed his name and became a chemist. I'm not making that up.
I believe you. And then later he's Darkman.
That being said, the other reason this movie is cool is because it does star Richard Basehart. And if you're a child of the 80s, you owe Richard Basehart $1. Actually, you can watch this film for a couple people from the 80s. The sheriff from...
And who is Richard Basehart? What's he famous for?
Richard Basehart is probably most famous for...
He glosses over certain things.
For Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, he played the Admiral. He basically played the Captain Kirk in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. But he's also Ishmael in Moby Dick.
Yeah.
He was the clown in Fellini's La Strada.
That's great. What is he famous for from the 80s?
He is the voiceover for Knight Rider.
That's right. He had a mustache.
Michael. He played Wilton Knight, the rich philanthropist who funds...
Philanderer. He's going to say philanderer.
Philanderer. He may have been. I don't know, but he gave money to charity, too,
He was the rich guy with money who liked philandering.
The other thing is, if you're a huge Joe Dante fan, especially of Gremlins, you should watch this film as well, because the other detective plays the sheriff, and he was cast in large part as the sheriff in Gremlins because of his role in He Walked at Night.
She's the sheriff, and she was. Are you good there? We're back, audience. It's hour 14.
I tried to educate people, but no. Just go ahead and say whatever you want about whatever dumb thing you're going to talk about.
Well, no, I was going to let Chad do his dumbness first.
Yeah, no. So James talked about a classic. Allow me to dumb it down a little bit.
Allow me to retort.
All right. So this movie came out in 1993.
Oh, boy, that's old.
Here's some of the cast. Dennis Leary. Bernie Mac.
Oh, Jesus.
Ice-T.
I know what he's going to do.
Bow-legged Lou.
Not bow-legged.
Big Bub.
Big Bub.
Bushwick Bill.
Bushwick Bill.
Heavy D.
And the boys. That's what James refers to his testicles as.
And, of course, Ed Lover. Ed Lover and the original Dr. Dre.
What did you say, James?
I told you that in confidence.
Yeah, you did.
But Ed Lover and the original Dr. Dre, I am talking about Who's the Man?
Hold on. Can I do my favorite line?
Yep.
Ed Lover can have all the donuts he wants. Right?
Right.
You know, the director's dead.
Yeah, Ted Demme.
Ted Demme.
Director of Below, Life, one of the best.
Did he ever make a good movie?
Yes, Beautiful Girls. Love Beautiful Girls. Best
Okay.
One of the best rom-coms there is. Underappreciated. Rounders.
He directed Rounders?
He directed Rounders.
I don't remember that. Okay, I'll give you Rounders.
It was also written by the movie was written by Dr. Dre and Ed Lover and a guy named
Can't imagine why.
and a guy named Seth Greenland who he wrote for a few TV shows and that's about it. So Who's the Man? So the plot of Who's the Man? Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, not the rapper
That's
Dr.
a film with like Amanda Bynes where she has to fake being a guy to get to college or something.
That's also a movie, yes.
Yeah,
And isn't it called Who's the Man?
it might be. I don't know.
James,
I don't know.
let's ask a philosophical question. Who is the man?
Well, if I learned
See, from Nietzsche said, from chaos comes order.
I know we're not talking about private investigator films, but if I learned anything about Who's the Man, it's that undercover brother will stop it. Because you obviously ain't here for undercover lover.
So you must be here. Undercover brother.
Yeah, so, but no, Who's the Man? So Dr. Dre and Ed Lover play two barbers, inept barbers, who, the person who they work for is killed, and they decide to, through a loophole, join the police force to solve the murder.
Sure this isn't Police Academy?
This is not Police Academy. This is far above Police Academy.
It may be, yeah.
Just because, and seriously, the reason...
You haven't even got to the plot, which is about as dumb as a box of rocks.
No, I just did bring up the plot.
Now, there's more to it. Why does he get killed? What are they looking for under the land?
Well, I was not going to tell that because these people may want to go find out what the twist is.
That's not a twist. That's not
Hold on, James has a point.
I really want somebody to be sitting there going, I could care less about that He Walked by Night film that really informed police movies as we know them. But that Who's the Man film, I wonder if that's at the Red Box.
It's not.
Because your kids killed the movie store where you go and discover films and get recommendations. All you got is that robot.
All I can say
is true.
How many movies captured the pure essence that was Bushwick Bill?
I don't know who that is.
Bushwick Bill he was a rapper from the 80s, very short man. He's in it. so's Everlast. Cypress Hill's in it.
Oh my God. All the hills.
Yeah, Big Daddy Kane. No, not Big Daddy Kane. Fab Five Freddy's in it. Chris One. They're all in it because Dr. Dre and Ed Lover were the host of MTV's Yo MTV Raps.
Yes, Yo MTV Raps. Don't add extra words.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm mush mouth today. No, but
I'm gonna slap your bitch ass.
But no, seriously, what's there? And the main reason I brought this up is for one reason and one reason only. Dennis Leary's performance as the sergeant,
as Dennis Leary,
as the guy who does the assignments, as he goes completely ballistic on poor Dr. Dre. Ed Lover.
My brother is a doctor.
Some people forgot about Dre, according to legend.
What?
That's the wrong Dr. Dre.
It's a different Dr. Dre.
Yeah. How dare you?
I was just...
They did forget about this particular Dr. Dre.
Yeah, who...
Turns out the other one was far more popular over time.
And probably more talented.
I don't know. He doesn't have a really good scene with Dennis Leary in a 90s comedy that's really not that good.
No. But I love it. It's dumb fun. And just watch it for Dennis Leary ripping poor Dr. Dre to shreds.
That and The Ref.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neither one of them are great films, but they're good Dennis Leary movies.
So that was my number one pick. Who's the Man?
Who's the Man? It even has a song for Who's the Man at the end where it replays part of the movie over the credits.
Yeah. and says repeatedly, Who's the Man?
Right?
Right.
It's
a terrible song.
It's not a good movie. But I do where
James has a point.
Go ahead.
How does that song, though, compare to what has to be one of the best, worst ending songs? And I refer to, of course, Hulk Hogan's performance in It's a Nice Place to Live, but I
wouldn't want to live, visit, right?
Yeah, because that's, what movie is that? Suburban Commando?
Suburban Commando.
How does it compare to Suburban Commando, Chad?
Oh, man, Suburban Commando is fantastic.
It's a terrible movie.
It's terrible, but it's funny.
I would rather watch Who's the Man.
Yeah, Who's the Man for Dennis Leary. And Bushwick Bill. And Bow-Legged Lou.
And just remember, Ed Lover could have all the donuts he wants. Oh, you know who does a really good impersonation of that scene? You ever heard Craig Dennis do it?
No.
Get him drunk and have him do it. Ed Lover, because he does that whole head thing. James, have you ever seen him do it?
I have.
Yeah, Ed Lover can have all the donuts he wants, and just swipe back. I don't know. It's good. It's good stuff. It's almost like
good reminiscing.
It's almost like Dennis isn't in the room. Anyway, I had a hard time with this. And I'm going to go with actually my favorite one. This movie is not a comedy, and in any way, shape, or form came out in 2003. There's a movie called, that some people consider one of the best cop films of all time, called The French Connection. It's directed by William Friedkin. William Friedkin also gave us The Exorcist. William Friedkin does not think it's one of the best cop movies of all time, and he does feel that he was very lucky to win the Oscar. And if you read his autobiography, which I tell you should if you're in the movies, he talks a lot about fighting with the actor in that particular movie, The French Connection. Do you know who that is, Chad?
That'd be Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman.
Who I have a story on in my next pick.
Good. So he talks about arguing a lot with Gene Hackman, and actually Gene Hackman never really getting the idea of what the role should be or how it should be played by the end of the fucking movie. Now, this movie won an Oscar. I just want to remind everybody. Almost never got made. Thousands of things went against it. I'm not going to talk about The French Connection. One of his favorite movies...
You just talked about The French Connection.
No, shut up. I just like doing that.
Okay, gotcha.
One of his favorite movies, and one he thinks is a far superior film to that, is a movie called Narc. Narc, directed by Joe Carnahan. It stars Ray Liotta, which last time I checked was your wife's fever dream. Am I right, James?
Particularly in a baseball uniform, a la a certain dream field.
Oh, Dreamfields. That's the low carb pasta, right? Is that what I buy?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I've ate my fair share of Dreamfields.
I have too.
Dreamfields, why don't you sponsor us?
I don't know. Obviously, it's not working for us, so they don't think that we're the crowd that they should be selling it to.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Maybe I would be, 700 pounds without it.
Cut us a check, combos.
So Jason Patrick is also in it. He's slowly going bald. It's a few years past Rush. And you may know him also from a little vampire movie from the 80s that I always think is slightly overrated.
Lost Boys, but how dare you? How dare you miss his most important role?
I'm glad you didn't argue with me that Lost Boys is slightly overrated.
It's overrated.
I intentionally said Near Dark to try to get something started, but nobody listened to me.
No.
I didn't hear you, actually. Yeah. But I actually think Near Dark's slightly overrated, too. But that's just me.
But Jason Patrick's best role, Speed 2.
Cruise Control. They only got back Sandra Bullock. So... let's move on to Narc. Narc is
which, by the way, before you go, Joe Carnahan is an underappreciated director.
He is, who hasn't had quite the career. If you like, go ahead.
I follow him on Twitter.
I do too.
And if you don't follow him on Twitter, you should.
He gets very political.
His commentary when he got attacked for people saying that Death Wish was a white person's fever dream. Because he was originally going to direct it as well.
Yeah, he wrote it, and he was going to be the director for Eli Roth directed it. Yeah.
Yeah, and his commentary is just if you get a chance to follow him on Twitter. But he also supports a lot of up and coming artists, and he's still active. He is not getting the credit he deserves, I think.
No, I agree.
I like some of his other works as well.
They're not all winners, but he's never made a bad movie.
No.
I actually think The Gray is my favorite, but Narc is a very good cop movie. So Narc is about a guy named Jason Patrick. Well, Jason Patrick plays a cop who was deep undercover on drugs. While he's on undercover, he gets somebody shot, somebody gets murdered. They pull him out. This blows up. He's basically on restricted duty at the time, and they offer him this assignment to basically Ray Liotta's character to partner with him and see, is he dirty?
Right.
That's the plot of Narc. And what we find out is everyone's dirty. And there's shades of gray. and what people will do to protect their friends, what people will do to protect their partners, how we're all flawed inside. It's actually produced by Tom Cruise, believe it or not.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Paula Wagner and Tom Cruise and if you don't know, Paula Wagner is his producing partner, produced that movie, and he was going to direct Mission Impossible 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, before JJ. And he pulled out, and he said he didn't think his career would ever recover from it. And it may not have. I don't know. He did the A-Team, and I like the A-Team, but the A-Team was not a big success. Even though I felt, well, that's about the best you're going to do with that.
With the A-Team, yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, A-Team was great.
It's superior to the show. I'll argue that with anybody. No. I know it doesn't have Mr. T, but other than that, it's superior to the show.
I mean, let's face it, Mr. T is what made the 80s A-Team last as long as it did. That being said, speaking of Joe Carnahan and cop-affiliated films, so I don't think there's enough cops in it to justify it.
Also, screw you, Dwight Schultz.
Yeah, Dwight Schultz is a great actor, and always a treat when he shows up on Star Trek.
Yeah.
He is a great actor. Even when he pops up in Voyager, it's better when he's there.
Dude, I saw a dog turd once that was more entertaining than some of the Voyager episodes. But it really was a great song and dance dog turd.
Yeah, the top hat really just brought
come on, honey,
I want to say, speaking of Joe Carnahan, and it's got cops in it, but I don't consider it a cop film. If you've never seen Smoking Aces, that may be one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies to have on the back.
Yeah, really entertaining. Another one is Stretch. Didn't get enough play. Another entertaining film that happens over one night about a limo driver, a stretch limo driver. So I definitely go out and check out Narc if you've never seen it. I feel like that's another one of those forgotten classics.
Isn't there one scene in Narc, and I might be remembering this wrong, where they're going around and they're showing people like mugshots or a picture of somebody missing, and that's all like real people on the street?
Yeah.
That was guerrilla filmmaking.
It's all guerrilla filmmaking. Yeah. The whole opening of the chase.
Because Narc's on a shoestring budget.
It's on a shoestring budget. I didn't want to go into it more, but I think Tom Cruise and Paula Wagner came in after the movie was shot.
Right.
And Jason Patrick
didn't get that Scientology money.
Well, just to help get it distributed.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise. Jason Patrick talks about that the checks didn't necessarily cash.
Right.
But he thought the script was so good. And that they were there to do some art.
Yeah.
So, it's a good story. His movie before that, something Suitcases, I can't remember. Don't check that one out so much. But
Learning Curve.
Learning Curve. Yeah, we all gotta learn.
Like the new Sonic movie.
Or Murder Virgin. Hashtag Murder Virgin.
I'm gonna get off topic. I still don't understand why people are so mad about teeth.
Huh?
They're fixing it, though. Did you see that?
I saw they're fixing it, but I don't understand why people are going ballistic about Sonic the Hedgehog's teeth.
Well, because, and again, getting off on a tirade here, but I think the reason it's so important.
I have no idea what you're all talking about. I know Sonic the Hedgehog.
Hold on, I gotta set chat off. They don't want the cinematic abortion that was Super Mario Brothers.
But that's been every video game movie.
What the hell did he get a? Well, he's had one for years.
Somebody tell me what the hell just happened.
I'm just gonna do a little song and dance stuff.
Now break into Midnight Rider. Run, you Devil's Rejects.
Run, Devil's Rejects. When's that coming?
I'm sorry, just people complaining about Sonic the Hedgehog's teeth. I don't understand it.
Guys, we're at minute 40, and we've went through 3 movies. Let's try to get through some more.
Oh, I'm sorry. When Joe goes on a tangent, everything stops.
I didn't stop on a tangent.
I know. I tried to give history. I tried to give the structure of what this did to cinema. And
I did too. Mine was slightly more concise.
No, that's fine.
Slightly more concise. Talked about the fucking director, who he influenced, where it came from.
James' harmonic you too. All right, James, what's your next one?
You're played off. And we can't afford an orchestra. You got a harmonica.
Yeah, you need one of those. I need a large stick that wants to come over and pull me off. And I'm talking big. See, it was a fat joke.
I was trying to think of a cop film that really impacted and made me feel like screwed up and stuff like that. And actually, a film franchise of sorts, 2 films came to mind. I'll talk about the original one though. Bad Lieutenant.
Oh yeah, Bad Lieutenant is.
Oh, I thought he was going Super Troopers.
I was too. I really did. For a split second,
Really?
thought he was going to
Really?
do Super. I actually did think you were going to do it. No, Bad Lieutenant. Do you know who directed it?
Abel Ferrara.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get a chance, check out his other screwed up work like Miss 45. Especially if you're into empowerment for women, because she does it with a 45.
But Bad Lieutenant, Abel Ferrara did. Was that the
King of New
funeral?
York with Christopher Walken.
There you go. Well, but it's the funeral. Who did the funeral?
Abel Ferrara.
Okay,
That's the one with all three of those guys. They're dead now. One of them. Who was in that?
Chris Penn.
Chris Penn, who's dead. Yeah.
What's his name? Who did Buffalo '66 and Brown Bunny? That's the things that he's done.
Mark Gallo.
Not Mark Gallo.
No.
Vincent. Oh. What's his name? Vincent. Oh, look, I seen the Brown Bunny and his penis.
Anyway, go on, James.
Someone got a blowy.
I like Buffalo '66 because it's just surreal and weird enough. But
that is not about your movie about the Miss 45.
Anyway, that being said, Abel Ferrara does make weird films. Vincent Gallo, by the way.
Vincent Gallo, yeah.
But Bad Lieutenant
is a big Republican.
It's this horrible. You don't know the name of the protagonist. He's just the lieutenant. Harvey Keitel plays him.
Yeah, I don't know that he's a protagonist.
Well,
yeah, he's the lead character.
Yeah,
but he's a bad lieutenant.
He is a bad. I mean, basically, the overall view is a young nun gets sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
And he is doing a lot of cocaine and a lot of drugs and drinking a lot. And at one point, shoots the radio in his car. None of this stuff. And basically, at the end, he catches the guilty party, and what he does is not what you would think he does, and the movie ends very bleakly.
Yeah.
I won't give. But I think as a character study film, you should watch The Bad Lieutenant. It is not one to watch with your children.
No, nor is and it's not really a sequel. I don't even know what to call it. It's like an alternative universe version, which is directed by your favorite person. Well, actually, I do think Werner Herzog is just a character that you just need to watch and listen to and talk. God, I wish we could have him on the show.
But one of the things with The Bad Lieutenant that if you are really interested in the making of the film is the fact it got made is a small miracle. They were rewriting stuff on set. There were characters that were they had cast them and they cut them on set. Things were being changed. One of the writers said that they literally were rewriting scenes 2 minutes before they would film them.
Yeah, it's not entirely unusual, but it's
worked for Iron Man.
Yeah, that was. What's his face tells the best stories about that. Jeff
Bridges.
Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. and would go off to the trailer and just kind of work it out. He says it's like working on a student movie.
Yeah. So anyway, James, go ahead.
Anyway, no, I totally agree with you. And if you want to see Harvey Keitel's penis, you can also see it in that movie.
I mean, that oddly enough gets second billing after him.
As well it should. I don't know what to say. I don't remember it very well. I just remember he does it.
The sequel, non-sequel, should be interesting to some people. It does have a named character who's played by Nicolas Cage, but that has a great cast.
Yeah,
the sequel has a great cast too, because it is Werner Herzog, but Brad Dourif's in it, Eva Mendes, Jennifer Coolidge, Exhibit, and it's another one about just a horrible lieutenant.
It also, what's the guy from Lexington played Zod?
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon's also in it.
Yeah. But so this one doesn't use as much heroin and cocaine, but there's a lot of Vicodin usage. There's still a lot of drug usage. But it shows that, that if you want quote unquote dirty cop films, A lot of films do the quote unquote dirty cop, where it's like, yes, they're on the take financially. I would argue nobody does more of a dirty cop than Bad Lieutenant, and to a lesser degree, the follow up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was NC-17 when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was, and it was recut a couple different times. And matter of fact, when they screened it at where did it screen first? Was it Cannes? It didn't screen with the rest of the films. They did a. It was in a the category they created for it was un certain regard. In other words, a certain regard. It didn't get to screen with what would have been the normal films that screened in the main part of Cannes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
a dark, twisted movie, but yes,
I don't.
If you're into cop films, there you go.
I can't. That's a good one, James, because that would take a particular person to recommend that to.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't walk up to.
You not walk out and rent that.
That Chris guy looked like a nice guy. He was there with his daughter. He was having a good time. And I just don't know that I'm going to tell him to go out and watch Bad Lieutenant.
Right.
That's one of those films that, and I said, I don't own it. I've rented it.
I don't own it either.
I own. I do own the Nick Cage version, but that's because I don't want it.
Yeah, it's a shocker.
Nicholas.
Did you swoon over Purple Rain?
Purple Rain. Purple Rain.
Oh, the other thing, though, I did want to say about Bad Lieutenant. See how I'm ignoring you all? Do you know who's originally going to play the Harvey Keitel?
Clear!
Who?
It's going to be a more or less unofficial follow-up to King of New York.
Christopher Walken? Yeah, I guess he didn't want to do that masturbation scene.
Yeah, I was going to say, see, so you were that close to being able to have second billing for Christopher Walken's member.
Yeah. Do you remember? Have you ever seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah. With the two girls he pulls over.
Yep.
I saw that 20 years ago, and I can't imagine that's gotten better.
No.
Especially now in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
1992, and if anybody says, "Oh, films have gotten so much darker," no, they haven't.
No, I agree with that. When you and I were arguing about something on Facebook, and one of the things I wanted to put in a private message, not out and about, but one of the things I wanted to put there was we were talking about comic book movies, and we could do a whole episode on it, but really quick. And a lot of people talked about this during the 70s because the studios that the inmates had taken over the asylum, yada yada yada. I don't think people remember just how interesting cinema was for just a split second.
Oh, well, and I think you can go back, and I think if you go...
And there's a lot of cop movies made during then.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go pre-code, way back in the day, it wasn't necessarily sex and stuff like that, but there's a bunch of pre-code stuff that is really interesting, too.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree with you there. But, yes, so... yeah, Bad Lieutenant, don't watch with anybody, and matter of fact, nobody should probably watch it. But if you're interested, it exists.
Yeah. All right. Go on, Chad.
All right, I'm going to bring up one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm just going to say the name. Dick Tracy. 1990.
I knew it was going to happen. That's why I didn't put it on my list.
I really didn't think about it. I should have.
Yeah, directed and starring Warren Beatty. This is... I was talking to Joe before we recorded about how when I pick these movies and I go and do the research on the movie, how they're all tied to previous episodes. So this was written by Jim Cash and this is written by Jim Cash and Jack Epps Jr., who also wrote Top Gun, Legal Eagles, Secret of My Success, Turner and Hooch, and of course the great Anaconda.
Don't want none if you haven't got buns, son.
But Jack Epps Jr., he a lot of these movies he did write with Jim Cash, except this one. He wrote Pigs vs. Freaks.
That was that TV movie, right?
Yeah, that was the football movie I brought up in the sports.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Are you keeping up, Chris? Sorry.
So it was just amazing. Like I was doing research on everybody who made this movie. Please. And Pigs vs. Freaks came up.
By the way, should we do that for when we eventually do our Patreon and stuff? Like you just pay for us to make fun of you while we're doing an episode?
That works.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I mean, we could not to.
I'm not making fun of Chris. I'm just saying if we brought somebody here, Chris, would you pay for that? Would you say?
Not to mock my heroes, or not to allude to my heroes. I should say it's not even mocking them. Us riffing somebody a la Riff Tracks Mystery Factor 3000. Yes, I would. I mean, if I admired you people, and I don't, but if I admired you, Joe, I would pay to have you mock me. It's kind of like, if if I was doing a panel and somebody mocked me that was famous, yeah, that'd be awesome. The fact Harlan Ellison hit me is awesome. So yeah, who wouldn't pay
It
to
had
be
been
mocked?
several episodes, but here it is. Talk about your dick.
Yeah.
And there's a harmonica.
So anyway, Top Gun, Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy.
Stars Warren Beatty, Al Pacino, William Forsythe, Madonna, Glenn Headley, the late great, and then Dustin Hoffman, and of course R.G. Armstrong as Pruneface.
Of course, R.G. Armstrong.
But did you all realize that this was the highest?
Predator R.G. Armstrong?
No, Pruneface. Did you realize this was the highest-grossing film of Beatty's career?
That doesn't shock me.
Period. Now we talked about.
What?
It's interesting because Beatty is known as this phenomenal actor, and he is. He's also allegedly known for a little bit of ego. But so it is, and to me, it is kind of shocking that,
with Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, I guess
Bullsworth.
Bullsworth was not a hit.
No, it wasn't.
Although actually, it's probably one of my favorite Warren Beatty movies and performances.
Yeah. But, so we mentioned Gene Hackman earlier. Did you all know Gene Hackman was supposed to play Lips Manless in this movie?
No.
He was. He was cast and was getting the role, but he turned it down really quick because he couldn't stand Warren Beatty after he directed him in Reds.
So he got cast in the role, was going to do it, and then realized, I hate him.
Yeah, I hate him.
All right, so for you all listening, really quick, we could do a two-parter on stories about Gene Hackman.
Yeah. Who is a wonderful actor, one of my personal favorites.
One of my personal favorites as well.
But an egotistical jackass.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to read some of the things that he did on the Royal Tenenbaums, please.
And then Bill Murray's...
wearing a cowboy hat on the other side.
But in order to make... By the way, I guess I should talk about what Dick Tracy is. Dick Tracy is a cop who is fighting the mob. The mob is Big Boy Caprice, played by Al Pacino. And Warren Beatty put so many villains in this movie. I believe the count is 28 villains from the Dick Tracy comic book into this movie because he was so afraid he wouldn't get a sequel. And it never did. But he turned down Misery to make this movie.
Lots of people turned down Misery.
Yeah. Did you know who? Go ahead, James.
Bed, right? That's what.
That was the problem. Yeah. Rob Reiner talked about it. Now, leading men did not want to lay in bed,
right,
for a whole movie, and basically get the shit kicked out of them in bed for 90 minutes. James Caan was number 472 on that list.
Right.
By the way, there can be a lot that can happen in a bed. That's all I'm saying. Real quick, though, about Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy has a legendary history, obviously, from the comic strips. Was created by Chester Gould. Chad, if I get any of this wrong, correct me.
Go for it.
If I'm not mistaken, it premiered in 1931. Originally, his name was Plainclothes Tracy.
Yeah.
Evidently, in the 1930s, a bright yellow rain slicker and a yellow hat was plainclothes for detectives, but whatever. But ran from 1931, and he wrote it and drew it from 1931 until 1972.
Yeah.
41 years of something he created, and he did everything for it.
He wrote and drew it? The whole thing? Really?
And he actually gets a screenwriting credit.
Oh, well, good for
in
him.
this movie.
I didn't know that.
But did you know also who was attached to direct this before Warren Beatty? John Landis.
That makes sense.
Do you know who was cast to be Dick Tracy?
Who?
Clint Eastwood.
Actually, I think I may have known this story before. What happened? Did you find out?
Yeah, Twilight Zone. That's what happened. If you're not familiar with...
That's also how he ended up in Trading Places.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, the Twilight Zone, the movie that John Landis directed a portion of that where there was a pretty horrific death in real life. and it pretty much sidelined his career.
Yeah, that's actually how he ended up with Trading Places. He tells a story that he went to his agent and said, "You've got to get me something. You've got to get anything. I'll take anything." And the only thing out there was Trading Places. It just happened to be. He turned it into a great movie that was a huge hit.
Right.
That just happened to be.
Yeah. But also, two more things about Dick Tracy. There's actually a 2.5 hour cut of this movie out there, and that was one thing Warren Beatty was not happy about, is that the studio forced him to make this movie an hour and 45 minutes because that was the standard length in the 1990s. So there's a 2.5 hour copy of this movie. Warren Beatty has it. I would die to see it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I would love to see it because there are parts where it just seems to just come out of nowhere. It's towards
the end, especially.
It's very rushed. So I'd like to see that. And also, too, I lost my other point.
That's okay.
It's an Academy Award-winning film, too.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And honestly, I'm not a fan like you two are. The same. What's the other one that you both love? The Rocketeer, and I'm so on the Rocketeer.
I appreciate Dick Tracy, but I love The Rocketeer. And then part of that is because of my childhood. I will not go into that.
I don't have a connection to it, but the Dick Tracy is still beautiful.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. The soundtrack, Danny Elfman, everything about Dick Tracy is just...
Academy Awards for Best Original Song, Best Makeup, and Best Art Direction. And all three of those show.
Yeah, and Al Pacino, for the villain, he had a lot of say in as to how he looked, because in the comic books, Big Boy Caprice, there's a reason he's called Big Boy Caprice. He is a fat guy.
Yeah. He
is a very fat guy, and Al Pacino just morphed him into this, like, hunched over evil character, and he's fantastic. He plays him over the top in typical Al Pacino fashion.
That, by the way, that started somewhere right around Dick Tracy and Sin of the Woman and never stopped for the next 40 years. Right. I want you to look at the man in The Godfather.
40 years?
Getting there, isn't it? Yeah, 30 years.
By the way, I just want to say, I know you named off some of the cast, but for those that are completists, Dick Van Dyke is in this film.
That's true.
Kathy Bates is in this film, and James Caan is in this film.
I knew James Caan. I didn't know Kathy Bates. I don't remember
Kathy Bates is the stenographer.
Yeah.
The court stenographer. So, just FYI. And there's a ton of other people, but those are three bigger names that sometimes get left out.
Chad, do you have more about it? Because I want to ask you a question.
No, I don't have any more about it. Go ahead.
I don't know if you knew this or not. So it was a hit, but it was not considered a hit because it wasn't Batman hit.
Right. It came out the year after Batman.
And is that not true?
That is true.
Disney wanted Batman, and it just wasn't Batman.
It wasn't Batman.
It made money, but it was never considered a success like that because it wasn't Batman.
Right. No, yeah, and that's...
What did you say?
Sorry. I was going to say, and Disney, until relatively recently, and they've made up for it.
Oh, my God, in spades,
did not have much luck with it because The Rocketeer was not a Disney original property. It was a comic series. And it didn't do as well as they wanted it to either.
Yeah, and...
couldn't buy a bucket, so to say.
And one more side note about Dick Tracy, and then I'll let Joe go on to his. There is you can find it on YouTube. There is an interview that Dick Tracy did, Warren Beatty did as Dick Tracy with Leonard Maltin, like a few years ago. Have you seen this? It is.
He did it to hold the rights. Right?
Yeah, exactly. He did it to hold the rights to Dick Tracy because he was getting ready. It was getting ready to expire.
So he still owns the rights.
He still owns the rights to Dick Tracy. So he did this interview with Leonard Maltin. It makes no sense. He's literally talking as Dick Tracy
with Leonard Maltin.
With Leonard Maltin, and he's wearing the yellow coat and hat that he wore in the 1990 movie.
So I gotta check this out.
It is bizarre.
It is. It is. It is. It is the Fantastic Four. We've got to make it so we can hold the rights of the Dick Tracy.
And if you're wondering about that Fantastic Four film, go ahead and listen to that Bonehead or watch that Bonehead episode with Ole Sassoon.
Yes.
Yes, and our friend Mick Strawn.
Real quick, you
Hashtag.
mentioned Clint Eastwood. Did you know some of the other actors that were considered, Chad?
I didn't list them all, but go ahead.
Harrison Ford, Richard Gere, and of course the just best actor that could have done it, Tom Selleck. And also Mel Gibson. Walter Hill was going to direct at one point. It went through tons of people.
And that's one thing too about Dick Tracy is when the least interesting character in the movie is the character that the movie's named after. It's an
But that's often true.
yeah, but no, I mean Warren Beatty.
A melodrama.
It's just Warren Beatty plays Dick Tracy so flat. There's not a whole lot there. It's everybody around him that makes that movie fantastic.
I saw an interview with him later. He played what's the gangster's name? What's the
Bugsy Siegel.
He's in Bugsy and played Bugsy Siegel. And they were asking him about how much hard work, and he said, "Well, after you produce, direct, and star in a movie, this is very easy."
Yeah.
So I can't imagine doing all that other stuff and then having to concentrate on your own role.
Right.
And sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say also just interesting trivia. If you wonder how Madonna got cast,
they were sleeping together.
No, she agreed to work for Scale.
They were having sex during that.
But she agreed to work for Scale.
And a little of the Warren Beatty.
But you see that in the Madonna documentary Truth or Dare, but
yeah.
Sean
Which is
Young
actually a lot of fun. You should go out and watch it.
Sean Young was supposed to be in the film as well, and she alleges she got cut.
All right, I'm next. I'm going back and forth on my two, and I'm going to do the obscure one. Usually James and Chad get the more obscure ones, and then I just say something about what's that movie I really like?
Is it more obscure than Who's the Man?
Star Wars. It's called Freebie and the Bean. Chad's already heard about it. Have you ever seen it? James, you ever even heard of it?
One more time in English.
It's called Freebie and the Bean.
No, you've got me.
There you go. It's from 1974, directed by Richard Rush, starring Alan Arkin and James Caan.
No,
it's a buddy cop film. I never even heard about it till a few years ago, and thank God I caught it on those Turner Classic Movies late at night.
The ones that aren't classic, but you still got to see.
What's that? Long Last Love or whatever, the Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd black and white movie where they end up on the moon. That's where I saw it. That starred Zach Galligan. I wish we'd get him on here to talk about that. That'd be great. Anyway, it's San Francisco police detectives Freebie and the Bean are determined to bust local crime boss Red Myers at any cost, even if this means destroying the whole city in the process. Basically, it's an 80s buddy cop film made in 1974. It's a lot of inappropriate jokes, specifically 1974 inappropriate jokes, and it's Alan Arkin and James Caan in a buddy cop movie. It gets dark at times because when was it made? 1974, where they could get away with a little bit more of that. So I just wanted to do an obscure one. I'm not going to talk about it a lot. I don't know that it was a huge influence on anybody else. I've only ever seen it the one time. It is enjoyable. Do you need to go out and see it? Yeah, probably, because if you're a completist and you want to see buddy cop films, this one's much more interesting than, let's say, Crash Course with...
That's Collision Course.
Collision Course with, I'm so sorry, excuse the shit out of me.
You jackass.
With Jay Leno and Mr. Miyagi.
That's Pat Morita.
Pat Morita and Mr. Miyagi. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
I've watched that movie.
I almost brought up Collision Course, so I'm like, no. Well,
I pulled it out of my ass. So.
Oh, man. That is a terrible piece of crap movie.
Doesn't he jump kick through a moving car?
Yes.
Pat Morita.
Pat Morita. And I believe he dresses up as a ninja at some point. Yeah.
I hope he saves some of that karate.
And the quick wit of Jay Leno.
We're killing it.
James, go!
Go, James, go!
Oh, I thought it was Chad again. I'm sorry.
No, y'all go after you.
You're so bored with Freebie and the Bean.
No. That sounds great. Okay, so for my third one, I'm kind of torn.
Like Natalie and Brulia.
That's not the first time that joke's been made on the show.
Because James is always torn. Be decisive, James!
I'm going to have to go with, okay, fine, Chad. I'll be decisive because it's a film that's technically about a former cop who takes a new job. And I refer to, of course, Cop and a Half. No.
Oh, my God.
Directed by Henry Winkler, starring the great, late Burt Reynolds. What a piece of shit movie.
Yes.
It pales compared to Kindergarten Cop. No. I'm going with Blade Runner. just if you don't know what Blade Runner is,
We
go
both
watch it.
turned our heads sideways, and I didn't know we were going.
Yeah,
we just
that
did
was
it
not synced. We did that. Really?
really close. Really? Now, don't get me wrong. Blade Runner is a monumental film. Blade Runner has influenced many other films. I don't know that I've ever watched Blade Runner for fun, but
No.
it's
I have.
beautiful.
Yeah. No,
Is
I
it a
like Blade
cop movie?
He interrogates people. He has to chase people. I mean, I don't.
it is a cop movie. I just
What was missing from it that would make it more of a cop movie? And it does state that he is a former police officer.
Mel Gibson pissed off on the a captain who says, "You Decker, you got one more time, or I'm putting you on something."
He would it? Yeah, actually, no. I'll take that back.
said Mel Gibson?
I'll
Mel Gibson
repeal
definitely
Blade
happened.
Runner
That's a
then,
cop
and
movie.
Okay.
so if since he maybe quit being a cop, and you could argue he's more of a private detective, I'll pull that back. I will then say this fine police film, Judge Dredd, not Judge Dredd.
I was like,
Dredd.
By the way,
Dredd.
Judge Dredd was
Horrible.
on, and I forgot just how bad that was because I
Oh.
saw it in the theater as a kid, and I was like, I don't know, it's got action, and I like that giant robot.
yeah, I liked it as a kid. Now, no.
Dredd is I wouldn't say it called a master, but Dredd is a standout, solid, rock solid B movie.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of the comics,
Carl Urban is fantastic in that movie.
Carl Urban does it perfectly. Dredd never takes his helmet off.
Right, like Stallone did.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure that was partially the studio saying, no, we paid for you.
Yeah.
We're getting you.
Right.
And we got to see those contacts.
But
I mean, hell, they made fun of it in the movie.
I am the law.
Rob Schneider makes fun of it in the movie.
Yeah.
well, and I mean, Dredd saying stuff like "I am the law" is Dredd. But that being said, not that way. And I think the newer movie, I think Dredd, and I shouldn't say newer movie. It's all based on 2000 AD, which at the time was a very futuristic title when it first started. But was the comic that Dredd first appeared in. It's this horrible future landscape. Depending on who was publishing it at the time, for a while DC did their version of Dredd for an American audience, all of this stuff.
It's a British comic, though, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and
It's
set
very
in
British.
It's set in Mega City 1, which was British commentary on America. And basically, Mega City 1 is all ran by corporations. The rest of America has been nuked. So everybody has to cram into this area. And they don't have time to let the legal process work anymore. So you have judges, and the judges are cops. They're judge, jury, execution.
Right.
And that's kind of the plot. In the movie, Carl Urban does play Dredd. And they're basically going up against this new drug.
Slow-mo.
Yeah, and that has this huge impact, and they're going up against a drug kingpin, and that's the movie. And most of the movie takes place in a tower, right? In the
Yeah, it's a one location movie for the most, except for that really cool action sequence where he's chasing them on the bike on the highway, the truck.
But I mean, so I'll repeal Blade Runner just in case it's a little too private detective-y for you for this.
I don't think it's private detective. I just
So I'll go Dredd. I think, and one of the reasons I wanted to do one of these films is to look at for lack of a better term, a future cop. And Chad, if you say time cop, I'll punch you in the throat. But I wanted to look at something about,
can't wait forever.
What does the film say about what have films taught us about commentary on where we think the police force is going? And I think Dredd, even though it is based on 2000 AD and the Judge Dredd series that followed it, and 2000 AD I think is still running. I think there's a lot of commentary there if you read the books, but the movie is a lot of fun. It's interesting, and it's shot in a really cool way. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's got a great performance from from Cersei. She's a great actress,
Yeah,
and I
she
can't
is.
remember her name.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Thurby?
Who?
Are you talking about Olivia Thurby? Isn't that who plays his new recruit?
No, we're talking about the villain, Cersei from Game.
Not Lena Headey.
Lena Headey, yeah.
Lena Headey.
Yeah.
I said not Lena Headey.
That is Headey.
Yeah, no. I think that's another. I mean, if you're us, you know it. but it was not a success at all.
No.
And we saw it in the theater together, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
I think we even sprung for the actual 3D performance of it.
Maybe I don't remember.
I think so.
There's a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
We drink a
drinking.
lot.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yes, you do.
you should.
I should.
You should.
Nobody's going to argue that point. Look
Yeah.
at me living this life.
As
over
your
hours.
attorney, I advise you to buy the cocaine. Now, next.
All right. So this is my obscure movie that kind of flew under the radar. It came out in 2011. The Guard. Direct.
With the crossing guard.
It's called The Guard.
I've seen the Crossing Guard.
It's directed by John Michael McDonough, who his brother is Martin McDonough.
Oh, who is one of the best writers working today. I know he's also a filmmaker, but
Yeah.
Martin McDonough,
Three
Billboards.
Three billboards out of my
Seven Psychopaths.
In Bruges.
Oh, In Bruges. What a hilarious movie.
And his brother John Michael is just as talented. He hasn't done a lot. He's only written like 7 or 8 movies. He's directed 6. This one stars Brendan Gleeson, Don Cheadle, and Liam Cunningham.
What's the other movie he did with that he did with Brendan Gleeson, where Brendan Gleeson is a priest?
Calvary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've never seen either one of those.
They're fantastic.
Do you have them?
No, these were rented. The Guard. Brendan Gleeson is just this awful human being who's a cop. It takes place in Ireland. They're trying to stop an illegal drug ring. Don Cheadle comes from America. He's trying to help these Brendan Gleeson's just this Irish cop, hates everyone. He's racist as hell. He's completely dirty, and he's just a smart mouth, and gives nothing but Don Cheadle crap through the whole movie as they're trying to solve this crime.
That's mouth, you say.
Yeah. But it is really funny. It is very Irish, so there is a lot of thick accents. So sometimes it's kind of hard, like what the hell are they saying?
Yeah.
But it is compelling for the hour and 40 minutes that it's on. A lot of people don't know it. It just kind of flew underneath.
I don't know it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. It flew under the radar. I saw a brief advertisement for it.
Advertisement?
A commercial, sorry, whatever you want to call it.
It was the way you said advertisement.
Advertisement. I can't talk tonight, nor can I talk ever. But no, it was actually a trailer. I forget where I saw it, but I was obsessed with finding this movie, and then I didn't even know it came out, and then I found a copy of it on DVD at a video store and rented it, and it was everything that I thought it was going to be. It's amazing. And then John Michael McDonough hasn't done a lot, and he should. I don't know why he hasn't.
I haven't seen The Guard, but I saw the trailer for Calvary when I was at the Kentucky, and it showed at the Kentucky, and I wanted to go, but the Calvary showed there for a week, and I missed it. And so when I saw the trailer for Calvary, I automatically said, A, that has to be his brother, once I saw the director, and B, I want to see it, and I missed it. So The Guard, I need to add that to the watch list as well.
Yeah.
Everybody should add that to their watch list. It is a phenomenal movie.
All right, so here's my last one. This one is, I think this is an actor that never gets enough credit. We all three feel this way, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Starring Kurt Russell. I don't think Kurt Russell gets the credit for actually being a good actor.
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, it's Kurt Russell from Tango and Cash. What were you going to say?
Can I guess the film?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dark Blue?
Dark Blue. Yeah. Did I steal it from you?
No. It was on my flip list, and I cut it.
Yeah, I was going back and forth, and then I had that in Dark, and it was the third one I had a really hard time with. And actually, what I really wanted to say was something completely different, but I just thought it was too easy. Is Dark Blue? It's directed by Ron Shelton. Ron Shelton's really known for sports films. We talked about him in the last episode. He directed White Men Can't Jump. He directed Tin Cup. He directed Bull Durham and Cobb, right? He made sports films. But Dark Blue is Kurt Russell as an anti-hero.
Just like he did in Captain Ron.
I actually like Captain
I know
Ron.
you do, and I don't understand it.
Because he's great in Captain Ron. Oh, Captain Ron. How do you not like Captain Ron? He has an eye patch. It's like, that's Snake Ron. That's Captain Snake Ron. Anyway, he plays an LA cop, and it takes place, I think, right around the 90 riots, right?
Yep.
He's not necessarily a good guy, and then we find out back together, well, once we said earlier about another movie, when we talk about Narc, there's shades of gray, and all of them are dirty.
Mm-hmm.
He's dirty. And he has this great soliloquy at the end where he goes off and basically talks about all of what's going on around him and everything, because he's kind of a piece of shit too.
Right.
And if you haven't seen Dark Blue, it's one of those lost Kurt Russell performances that I don't think he gets enough credit for. I think another one where he's superb is Miracle, but I think people remember that a little bit more. They don't necessarily remember Dark Blue. See, I wasn't going to spend a long time on it. What are some honorable mentions from you guys? Can I do a few?
Yeah, I mean, well, the fourth one on my list that I skipped because it's one of my favorite movies. It's another one of my favorite movies of all time. But I wanted to talk about Who's the Man, and James mentioned it earlier. L.A. Confidential.
It's a good movie.
It's an amazing movie.
And we just lost the director last year.
Yeah. I'm blanking on
Kurt.
his name. Anyway, but no, L.A. Confidential is great. And I'm looking at Joe's honorable mentions. So, also, the other one that I was going to bring up and I didn't because we discussed it in length in our Dom DeLuise episode was Loose Cannons.
Yeah.
So I did not bring that one up.
James.
Honorable mentions. And by the way, these could have easily been my top three as well. The Departed deserves a mention.
Or Infernal Affairs.
Infernal Affairs. Actually, I put it side by side.
They're both great.
On my list, right there. Departed and Infernal Affairs. I mean, what that movie does. If you just read a two-sentence description of it, it doesn't seem like it would be as awesome as it is.
Yeah, and they're both good though.
Another one that I think people thought it was going to be a big action film, but it's much more of a thinking piece, is Copland.
Oh, that is a good movie.
I actually don't care for Copland. I find it boring, but I think Stallone is great in it.
Yeah, well, and that's what I say. I think because of the cast it had at the time, people thought, my father thought, with this cast, things are going to blow up every 5 minutes.
No.
Well, yeah, at the time that was supposed to have been that was supposed to be Stallone's next Oscar win.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
But he's really good in it. I just don't know that it's a good movie.
And then I really think you got to kind of step back and think about the movies that have had cultural impact. So, Beverly Hills Cop.
Yep.
As a franchise, I think obviously it was diminishing returns, but I think Beverly Hills
movie holds up.
It holds up. It's a phenomenal film. It's an entertaining film. So that was one. And then along with that, I mean, the movies that make being a cop humorous, the Naked Gun franchise.
Yeah, I have it on mine too.
And then Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz is a good one. I don't have Hot Fuzz.
Is a good movie, and it looks at that idea of, I think it's probably one of the more fair portrayals of what most police officers' days look like. Not obviously it's played for laughs, but because we do consume it through film, we are much more expecting of Die Hard.
Which could be on our list, which is probably maybe, if not the best, most influential film of the 80s.
Yeah.
What is more influential than Die Hard?
There isn't. It's just, in my opinion, with Die Hard, I know he plays a cop. He is a cop. But in my opinion, the only cop movie of the Die Hard franchise is Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Why? Because he's in New York.
He's in New York being a cop, where in the other ones it's by circumstance that he's.
Christy and I had this argument about it earlier when going over. But what about Lethal Weapon?
Lethal Weapon's a cop movie, yeah.
Which once again, diminishing returns. They made a great sequel. It's called Lethal Weapon 2, and then they made 2 more.
I like Lethal Weapon 4. Yeah, bite my ass. I said it.
That one's the worst.
No,
they're both pretty bad.
You're played off. No more.
I'm not even arguing with you to argue with you.
The other one that we need to talk about is National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Actually,
Quick, I'm going to try to lose him.
There's
There's that film that I laugh at, but there's also the one that we should bring up because it has cop in the title. It's RoboCop.
I was gonna end with it. I was waiting for you because that was the blank one. Chad can see my notes.
Yes, it says
I didn't
blank.
Want it said blank because I knew what it was going to do, but I didn't. I thought.
I almost used it as one of my three because I think it gets to a lot of conversations.
I think so too, and it's actually one of my.
The idea of security as we privatize, as we think of corporate powers, as we think. I mean,
it's one of my favorite movies that is so much of its time that I still feel you could retell the story. And actually, I think they got about a third to a half of the remake right, about a third of it right, of what you could do with it that still holds up. Like it's so much 1988. But it still holds up.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is so much of its time. Yeah, I think RoboCop. We also have Police Academy. Dragnet, the movie, is one of my favorite as a kid. I still love it. I still think it's hilarious. And, Lethal Weapon. We could sit here and talk about movies forever. And the last one, you mentioned it earlier, James, would be Touch of Evil. Simply because I'm such an Orson Welles fan. He plays a bad cop who's a good cop. And so, if you watch Touch of Evil, the guy that he's wrongfully in prison is actually guilty.
Yeah.
He's tortured him. He's horrible. He's killed people. But there's actually the bad guy.
Right.
He was the guy that blew the people up at the front of the movie, if you're watching. And it's a throwaway line at the end of it. It goes, turns out he was right.
By the way, just because we got called out because evidently Craig fell asleep before we got to some of the things.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Craig, are you still with us, buddy? Okay. Training Day.
Yeah, written by David Ayers.
End of Watch, you think?
It's also a David Ayers screenplay, and only he directed that one. I like the movie. I don't know that it's going to make my list. Once again, a lot of these are in the last 30 years. That was the reason why I wanted to take out Freebie and the Bean, was to give you something that wasn't. And I thought we were both talking. We thought Serpico was a little too much on the nose, which Serpico's a great movie.
Serpico
directed by the great late Sidney Lumet.
Serpico makes a lot of lists. Heat makes a lot of lists.
Heat does, but I honestly don't know that it's a great movie. And I get a lot of flack for that. He is a very big TV movie with a great big cast and a wonderful director.
Nope.
Heat is not a great movie.
Disagree.
And I think if you're going with people who had a big impact on the 70s, we talked about an 80s example that had a big. You can't talk about 70s cop films without bringing up Dirty Harry.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. Dirty Harry is another icon, and it's a cop film. But once again, when we're trying to talk about these things, it's kind of the bonehead way is to kind of pick some things that aren't necessarily what people would automatically go to, right?
Yep. And I don't want to hear any letters about the fact that we did not talk about the K-9 buddy cop movies of Turner and Hooch, K-9, and Top Dog.
We could do a whole episode on dog buddy cop movies.
And James's favorite cop movie that he left out, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
No, I was actually going to say the hardest one for me to cut out, and it was I haven't even mentioned yet, but it was such a hard thing not to do. I want to talk about He Walked at Night because of the historical impact and all that stuff, but it was The Untouchables.
Yeah, no, The Untouchables is a great movie, and it's on a lot of lists as well. Once again, directed by Brian De Palma, but we could just be here for hours, and we've already been here for an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Rush Hour.
Chad's ready to go.
We're gonna get feedback about
Rush Hour. Is not a great cop movie.
Heat is. Rush Hour is.
Somebody's going
Rush
to be
Hour
happy.
is not. Heat is better than Rush Hour.
7. So anyway, there's tons of them.
Yeah, 7. Or is that a serial killer film? Is there a difference?
Well, I was about to say, and that's it. I would argue that we didn't bring up Manhunter.
No, but that's another Michael Mann movie.
And I would argue that, to me, Manhunter and any of the Hannibal Lecter films, the cops are secondary. Those are serious.
They're not cops; they're FBI agents. Jerk.
We'll talk about that later.
In Manhunter, isn't he a police officer?
I don't know.
No, he's an FBI agent.
Ah, burn.
Will is an FBI agent. Not that you've got a Thomas Harris fan right around here, but yes, Will is an FBI agent. All right, guys. So
Well, I'm sorry I let us all down.
It's okay. We're going to do another episode where we actually do our favorite cop shows. So if you see this, tweet at us, Facebook us, Instagram, something. Let us know what yours are. We'll maybe give you.
And I'm going to guarantee that nobody's going to pick my first pick.
So help me.
Nobody is doubting that. With such questionable taste of Heat. I know I'm going to get a lot
You're
of
the
shit
only
for that.
one who hates Heat.
I don't hate it. I just don't think it's a great movie.
Well, you're the only one who has that opinion.
No, there's a lot of people who have
No,
that
there
opinion.
isn't.
Yeah, there's tons of
I'm
critics.
not looking at
It
you.
actually has, there is a critic who wrote, he produced a TV movie the same year or the year before that has the same plot. Anyway, moving right along. Thank you all so much. What'd you say?
What'd you say, James?
I said do. Footloose and fancy free.
Yeah. So thank you all so much. Tune in, subscribe, share us on your social media. Okay, we need to get some more subscribers. We picked up a few. Here's some things. If you're listening to us on SoundCloud, we're doing really well on SoundCloud, but you're not subscribing. If you could subscribe, that would be great.
Also, rank the episodes and leave comments. We'd love to hear what you're thinking on. Especially if you're listening to SoundCloud, we want to know what you're thinking.
And iTunes, because you have to rate us on iTunes.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's a slam on SoundCloud. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Be listening to us on SoundCloud.
Oh, yeah. What are you trying to do there?
I just want to know what people. I just want some feedback. What do people think about our show?
No, why? It's just going to hurt our feelings. All right, this has been Bonehead. We are on SoundCloud. What?
Tell us which one of it you think is the hottest.
No, don't do that.
Who? Based on what?
Yeah.
There's nothing here as attractive.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no physical appeal.
There's no physical caterpillar among us.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
you're trying to say.
Listen, there are some people who get by just on their voice. I'm not one of them. I sound like a bag of cats against a wall.
Nope. All right. Thank you so much. This has been Bonehead.
Bye.
Bye.